There are moments in life when everything looks normal on the surface, but underneath, someone is carrying more than they can comfortably share. Sometimes it is illness, sometimes it is fear, sometimes it is simply the desire to protect the people they love from pain they are not ready to give them. Imagine someone close to you, not a stranger in a dramatic story, but a real person who laughs with you, checks in on you, and shows up in your everyday life. Now imagine that behind their calm presence, they are facing something serious, like cancer, not in a cinematic, exaggerated way, but in the quiet, exhausting, real way that illness often exists. For many people going through something like this, the first reaction is not to tell everyone immediately. It is often silence, not because they are pretending and not because they are dishonest, but because they are trying to understand their own reality first. A diagnosis like cancer does not just affect the body, it reshapes time, thoughts, priorities, and even the way someone speaks about the future. In those early days, there is often confusion, appointments, tests, medical terms, waiting periods that feel longer than they are. A person may sit in a hospital room, holding results that feel too heavy to fully process, and in that moment, they may think not only about themselves, but about everyone they love. It is very common for someone in that position to wonder, if I tell them, will I be taking away their peace? Not because others are too fragile, but because they care deeply about how much pain their loved ones will feel, so they delay the conversation. Sometimes for days, sometimes longer. And in that silence, life continues normally for everyone else. Smiles still happen, conversations still sound ordinary, plans are still made. That contrast can feel strange in hindsight, but at the time, it is often just how people cope, by separating what they are going through internally from what they show externally. But carrying something serious alone is not truly sustainable. Even when it comes from love, silence can become heavy. Fear grows in isolation, and eventually, most people in this situation reach a point where they realize that being honest is not just about informing others, it is about allowing support to exist. Because love is not only expressed through protection, it is also expressed through trust. When someone finally chooses to share something like a diagnosis, it is rarely in a dramatic way. It is usually quiet, imperfect, and emotional, and on the receiving end, it can be overwhelming, but also connecting. Because truth, even painful truth, allows people to stand together instead of apart. What matters most in these situations is not the secrecy itself, but the intention behind it. Often, it is love, a flawed, human, protective kind of love that says, I don't want to burden you, even when support might have helped them both. And if you are imagining someone in your life right now, the most meaningful response is not fear or assumption, it is gentle presence, a willingness to listen without jumping to conclusions, a space where honesty feels safe enough to exist, because real strength in these moments is not about hiding pain or exposing it dramatically. It is about allowing truth to be shared in a way that brings people closer, not further apart. And if there is a deeper lesson here, it is this: you never truly know what someone is carrying just by looking at their daily life. That is why compassion matters, not as a reaction to tragedy, but as a constant way of seeing people. So rather than imagining hidden suffering unfolding in silence, it may be more grounded and more helpful to remember this. People going through difficult health challenges often struggle not only with illness itself, but with how and when to talk about it. And when they do speak, what they usually need most is not shock or fear, but steady understanding, calm support, and the reassurance that they don't have to face it alone. That is where real love shows up, not in secrecy, but in shared truth. They're not hiding because they don't trust you. They're hiding because they love you too much to let you feel their pain. Let's pause for a moment, because I know your heart is racing. You're wondering who this person is, what stage their cancer is at, and what it means for them, for you. I'm going to tell you, but first, I need you to hear this. Their story isn't over. This battle with cancer isn't the end. They're still here, still fighting, still holding on. And they're not alone. There's a hand guiding them, a light shining in their darkness, a promise that this fight will not define their future. This person, this soul you love, is someone whose presence feels like home. They're the one who knows you better than anyone, who loves you through your highs and lows, who's been there for every moment that mattered. Their voice calms you, their hug heals you, their love feels like a safe place in a world full of storms. They're someone you can't imagine losing, someone you'd move mountains to protect, someone whose pain feels heavier than your own. But here's the truth, my friend, they're not slipping away, they're not lost, they're still here, still breathing, still fighting, and they're not fighting alone. Let's talk about the cancer they're facing, because I know you're wondering. It's not the earliest stage, where hope feels certain and the path is clear. It's not the final stage, where hope feels like a distant dream. It's somewhere in the middle, stage 2, a place where every moment is a balance between fear and faith, between giving up and holding on. Stage 2 is a battleground, where every choice matters, every prayer counts, every heartbeat is a quiet vow to keep going. They're in the thick of it, fighting with everything they have, and they're doing it in silence, for you. They've had moments you didn't see, moments that would break your heart and lift your spirit at the same time. There was a night when they sat alone, the world quiet around them, and they cried, not for themselves, but for you. They thought of the moments they might miss, the memories they want to make with you, the life they want to live by your side. They whispered a prayer, not for healing, but for the strength to keep shielding you from their pain. They asked for courage, not to face their cancer, but to keep smiling for you. They asked for time, not for their own sake, but so they could keep being there for you. There was a day when they sat in a doctor's office, listening to words like prognosis and treatment plan, their heart pounding, their hands trembling. They looked at the doctor and asked, "How long do I have?" Not because they wanted to know, but because they needed to plan how to keep you from knowing, plan how to keep your world steady while theirs was shaking. And when the doctor said, "There's hope, but it's a fight," they nodded, not because they felt strong, but because they knew they had to be, for you. There was another moment, one you might recognize if you think back. It was a day when they seemed quieter than usual, when their smile didn't quite reach their eyes. You asked, "Are you okay?" And they said, "Just tired," with a quick laugh to brush it off. But what you didn't know was that they'd just come from a treatment, their body aching, their heart heavy, but their love for you stronger than ever. They looked at you, saw the concern in your eyes, and made a silent promise to keep their secret, to keep your heart safe. But here's something beautiful, my friend. In the midst of their battle, they've found moments of light. There are times when they feel a peace they can't explain, a strength that comes from somewhere beyond themselves. There are moments when they look at you, when they see your smile, hear your laugh, feel your presence, and it's enough to keep them going. You are their reason, their anchor, their hope. Even in their darkest moments, you are their light. Let's walk further into their world, because there's more to this story. There are moments of quiet bravery that would leave you in awe. There was a day when they sat alone in their car, after a doctor's visit, gripping the steering wheel, trying to steady their breathing before walking into your life with a smile. They looked in the rearview mirror, saw the exhaustion in their eyes, and whispered to themselves, "For them, I'll keep going." There was a night when they wrote you a letter they'll never send, pouring out their heart, their fears, their love, just to feel close to you without breaking the silence. There was a morning when they stood in front of the mirror, their body changed by the fight, maybe a little thinner, a little weaker, but their resolve stronger than ever. They looked at themselves and said, "You can do this. Not for you, but for them." And they walked out the door, ready to face another day of pretending, of protecting, of loving you through their pain. These are the moments you didn't see, the moments that define their strength, their love, their sacrifice. But there's more to this journey, my friend. There are moments they've had that you'll never fully understand, but they're part of what makes their fight so profound. There was a day when they sat in a hospital waiting room, surrounded by others fighting their own battles, and they felt a strange sense of connection, not just to those strangers, but to something bigger. They felt a whisper of hope, a reminder that they're not alone, that their fight is part of a larger story. There was a night when they looked at old photos, pictures of you together, of moments filled with laughter and love, and they smiled through their tears. Those memories gave them strength, reminded them why they're fighting, why they're hiding, why they're choosing to protect you. There was a morning when they woke up feeling weaker than ever, but they thought of you, and that thought alone was enough to get them out of bed, to face another day, to keep going. These moments, these quiet acts of courage, are what make their love for you so extraordinary. They're not just fighting cancer, they're fighting for you, for your peace, for your happiness, and that's a love that nothing, not even cancer, can take away. Let's go deeper still, because this story is about more than pain, it's about purpose. Their battle with cancer is teaching them things they couldn't learn any other way. It's teaching them about resilience, about the kind of strength that comes from facing the impossible and choosing to keep going. It's teaching them about faith, about trusting in something bigger than themselves, even when the road feels dark. It's teaching them about love, about the kind of love that sacrifices, that protects, that endures through the hardest moments. And it's teaching you something too, my friend. It's teaching you about the depth of connection, the power of presence, the strength that comes from walking through the fire together. Because this isn't just their story, it's yours too. You're part of this journey, even if you're just now learning about it. And I know this truth feels heavy, like a storm you didn't see coming. It feels like a wave threatening to pull you under. But hear this, you are stronger than you know, you are braver than you feel, and you are not alone. There's a moment I want you to picture, a moment that's coming. It's a day when you and this person will sit together, not in silence, but in truth. You'll look into their eyes, and you'll see not just their pain, but their strength. You'll hold their hand, and you'll feel not just their struggle, but their love. And in that moment, you'll realize that this battle with cancer, this secret, this weight, it's not what defines them. What defines them is their heart, their courage, their love for you. And what defines you is your ability to love them back, to stand with them, to believe in the future that's being written for you both. But let's talk about the days they faced, the ones you didn't see. There was a day when they sat in a quiet corner of a hospital, waiting for a test result, their heart pounding so loud they thought everyone could hear it. They closed their eyes and pictured your face, your smile, the moments you've shared. That image gave them the strength to take the next step, to face the next test, to keep fighting. There was a night when they lay in bed, the pain keeping them awake, and they thought of all the things they still want to do with you. Simple things, like sharing a meal, laughing over a memory, or just sitting together in silence. Those thoughts were their lifeline, their reason to keep going. There was another moment, one that might seem small, but meant everything to them. It was a day when you called them, just to talk, just to share a moment. You didn't know it, but they were sitting in a hospital chair, waiting for a treatment, their body tired, but their heart full, because of you, your voice, your laughter, your presence. It was a reminder of why they're fighting, why they're hiding, why they're choosing to protect you. They hung up the phone, smiled, and whispered to themselves, "This is worth it, and there's a bigger story being written here, my friend. A story that goes beyond their cancer, beyond their silence. It's a story of divine love, of a hand that never lets go, of a promise that never fades. The one who created the stars, who calms the storms, who breathes life into every moment, is with them. Every step they take, every tear they shed, every prayer they whisper, it's seen, it's heard, it's held. And that same hand is holding you, guiding you, preparing you for the moment when the truth comes to light. When someone you love is facing cancer in silence, the emotional weight around it can feel overwhelming. There is fear, uncertainty, and a deep need to make meaning out of something that feels unfair and out of control. In moments like this, it is natural for the mind to reach for certainty, reassurance, or even a sense of hidden guidance. But what actually helps in real life is often simpler, quieter, and more human than dramatic certainty. What a person going through illness usually needs most is not symbolic interpretation of their journey, but steady, grounded support. Presence matters more than prediction. Listening matters more than conclusions. And love, in its most practical form, is not about promises of outcomes, but about showing up consistently without turning the person's illness into a story that they have to emotionally carry for others. Cancer, especially when someone is hiding it or processing it privately, is not a spiritual test or a hidden narrative unfolding for others to interpret. It is a medical and emotional reality that affects the person's body, mind, and daily life in very direct ways. And for those who care about them, the most meaningful role is not to assign meaning to the illness, but to reduce emotional burden wherever possible. That starts with respect for their privacy and emotional pace. Some people choose silence because they are still processing fear, uncertainty, or treatment decisions. Others may not want to be seen through the lens of illness at all. Respecting that boundary is an act of care, not distance. Support also means resisting the urge to fill silence with assumptions. When someone is struggling, not every pause or change in behavior is a sign of something deeper or hidden. Sometimes it is fatigue, sometimes it is fear, sometimes it is simply the quiet effort of getting through a difficult day. Allowing people space to be human, without interpretation layered on top, can be incredibly relieving for them. Love in this context is practical. It looks like checking in without pressure. It looks like offering help in specific, simple ways instead of general statements. It looks like sitting with someone without needing to fix their experience. It looks like letting them speak when they want to, and letting them be silent when they don't. It also means taking care of your own emotional responses. When someone we love is sick, it is common to want certainty or reassurance about the future. But real life does not offer guaranteed outcomes in situations like illness. What it does offer is the ability to remain present, to support treatment plans, and to maintain emotional stability so the relationship itself becomes a source of comfort rather than additional pressure. Medical journeys are also not linear stories of hidden strength being revealed or predetermined outcomes unfolding. They are complex processes involving treatment, response, recovery phases, setbacks, and adjustments guided by healthcare professionals. The most reliable foundation in these situations is not belief in a narrative, but collaboration with doctors, honest communication, and emotional steadiness between people who care for each other. At the same time, there is something deeply meaningful about shared humanity in difficult periods. Illness often brings people closer, not because of hidden forces, but because vulnerability reduces superficial distance. Conversations become more honest, priorities become clearer. Small moments, eating together, talking, sitting in silence, can carry more weight than usual, but it is important not to turn that closeness into pressure. The person who is ill should not feel responsible for inspiring others or maintaining emotional strength for everyone around them, and the people supporting them should not feel responsible for predicting outcomes or carrying emotional certainty about what will happen next. Uncertainty is part of this experience. It is uncomfortable, but it is real. Learning to sit with it, without turning it into stories of guaranteed outcomes or hidden meanings, is part of emotional maturity in situations like this. What helps most is staying anchored in what is actually present. Medical care, daily needs, emotional honesty, and consistent human connection. If fear arises, it can be acknowledged without letting it take over the entire meaning of the situation. If hope exists, it can be held gently without turning it into certainty. And perhaps most importantly, love in these moments is not measured by intensity of belief or emotional declarations. It is measured by steadiness, by showing up, by being reliable, by not disappearing when things are difficult. There is no need to frame this experience as a hidden story being written or a guaranteed outcome waiting ahead. The real story is simpler and more grounded. A person is facing illness, and people who care about them are choosing how to support them with kindness, respect, and presence. That is already meaningful on its own. And whatever happens next, what remains valuable is not the certainty of outcome, but the quality of care given along the way.